Rescuers and volunteers had to act quickly to save the lives of 7 large and stunning whales that became stranded on a beach in Buenos Aires, Argentina. What transpired afterwards is sure to warm your heart and renew your belief in the compassion of humanity and the intelligence of animals. The serene beaches of Buenos Aires were bathed in the warm glow of the rising sun, enveloped in tranquility. A clear blue sky greeted the start of yet another beautiful day, with the air already growing warm. In this picturesque Argentine city, people were waking up and making their way to the beaches, eager to bask in the sun and enjoy a refreshing swim in the sea. Unbeknownst to the beachgoers, a surprising sight awaited them. Washed up onto the shore was a group of killer whales, a pod of 7, ranging from young orcas to massive, fully grown whales. Their striking black and white bodies glistened under the sun's rays as they lay on the sand, the gentle waves lapping against their skin. It would have been a magnificent sight if the whales had intentionally arrived there. However, the unfortunate reality was that they had become stranded and were beached on the shore. The majestic creatures lay motionless, conserving energy and fighting to prolong their lives. Killer whales belong in water. It is their natural environment, and any prolonged period out of their element could damage them to the point of no survival. When the people of Buenos Aires noticed the purport of beached killer whales, they had a choice. Should they help them or leave those terrifying predators to their fate? Killer whales are known for being aggressive and powerful, and people are often warned to watch out for these giants when they go swimming in the sea. They could very easily kill a human if they wanted to. Coast guards usually tell people that if killer whales are in the area, swimming or surfing are prohibited because of the danger they pose to humans. So, seeing killer whales washed up onto the shore was actually quite a frightening experience for some people, but as scary and intimidating as they were also stranded and had no way of making their own way back into the sea. It would take human intervention to keep them alive and hopefully get them back to the safety of the open waters. But would anyone help? Would anyone be brave and kind enough to help these killer whales in distress? Thankfully, news of the beached orcas had gotten to a local wildlife rescue center, and the dispatchers immediately sent rescuers on the scene to help. The rescuers splashed the whales with seawater and covered them with wet towels to keep their skin moist and protected from sunburns for several hours. They only tried to keep them comfortable, and a large crowd started to gather around. Soon it became evident that the rescuers alone couldn't save all 7 whales. They needed help. Luckily, people started to volunteer. They waded into the shallow water and helped out as much as they could. They began splashing, water-digging channels, calming the whales, and anything and everything they could to keep these magnificent beasts alive. More and more volunteers came, suddenly seeing that killer whales weren't as terrifying and monstrous as they had originally believed, and all day long the ever-growing team worked together to keep the whales alive and come up with a plan to save them. Why would the killer whales have intentionally beached themselves, though? Well, there are a variety of reasons why this would happen if a single whale had been found beached. Its situation could have been put down to sickness or injury. Animals know when they're not well and probably going to die, so this is the way some whales choose to go out, by beaching themselves and essentially suffocating to death once they're out of the water. But in doing so, they prevent other whales from also becoming sick or injured. Other reasons that beaching occur include whales getting washed up in bad weather when the tides are extra strong. Old age is a factor too. They might make navigation errors, resulting in them swimming up the beach instead of away from it. But the reason why an entire pod of whale washed up on shore is a little more tricky to pin down. The best guess of the people present on the Buenos Aires beach that day was that the pod was hunting too close to shore and had inadvertently ended up beaching themselves. None of the whales were old, the weather was fine and clear, so a hunting trip gone wrong was the only logical explanation. As the day went on, rescuers and volunteers slaved away in the sun to keep them alive. By mid-afternoon, the temperatures were soaring, and there was a strong chance that the whales would die of heat stroke. It was crucial that they were kept as covered up and wet as possible. At that moment, that was possibly more important than freeing them. There were dedicated teams assigned to each orca that kept the water flowing and their skin soaked. Other people started to dig channels underneath the killer whales, careful not to nick or cut them as they dug. They hoped that the seawater would be able to get underneath their wet bodies and help them glide off of the beaches and out to sea. Unfortunately, though, as the hours went on, the whales seemed to be getting tired and stressed that alone could kill them. But the people had one final idea. One last-ditch attempt at saving the pot of 7-kilo whales. Evening was drawing in. The tide was starting to come in, and the waves were getting larger. If they pushed at the whales, they would hopefully be able to move them off of the beach. It was a simple idea and one that could very well fail. But they had to try, and as one, the large group of people started to push with all of their might. As the waves crashed in, everyone continued pushing the whales out to sea. The tide was working against them, pushing the orcas back onto the beach, but they didn't give up. They kept pushing until the whales' bodies started to shift towards the open waters. More people from the crowd joined to help with the big final push, with each orca having tens of people helping guide it away from the beach. One by one, the whales must have sensed that they were starting to become free, and they began to power their tails up and down, providing a big boost to the people, pushing them out to sea. The waves crashed in and over both animals and humans, but no one stopped pushing. Everyone was doing their best to save the pod. Finally, with one huge final effort, the whales began to easily slip free of the beach and into the deeper waters beyond the shore. They were free. The orcas went up to each other as if greeting one another and checking everyone was okay before starting to swim away. It had been an extremely long, tiring, and stressful day for the whales as well as the humans, but it was finally over and they were free. The part of killer whales swam out towards the open waters with their fins poking above the surface of the waves. The rescuers, volunteers, and the large crowd that had gathered all cheered and clapped as they watched the beautiful animals swim off towards the sunset, many of them with tears in their eyes. It was a beautiful moment and a breathtaking treat at the end of a long and hard day of keeping the orcas alive, but the best was yet to come. As the sun dipped below the horizon and the sky turned red, the killer whales started to leap out of the water in huge arcs, landing with a splash over and over again. All of the whales leaped as if they were putting on some kind of display for the people that had worked for many hours to save them. Maybe it was the killer whales' way of expressing their appreciation, but whatever the reason, it deeply touched the hearts of those who silently observed. The scene was so awe-inspiring that even those who weren't already moved to tears found themselves weeping, confirming that they had made the right decision. By rescuing the 7 stranded whales, they had saved lives, and the killer whales would be forever indebted to them. Now it's your turn. What are your thoughts on this heartwarming and remarkable story? We always value and appreciate your feedback, so please share your opinions and comments in the section below. I hope you liked this video. Please share and subscribe to our channel. Also press the bell icon to never miss the update from our channel. Thank you.